Yo, what's going on, guys? So the Dallas Cowboys have been a little bit active in free agency. Of course, we've seen the Cowboys re-sign some guys. We see some trades happening. We see some players depart from the Dallas Cowboys organization. So I have to say, guys, I like the re-signs the Cowboys made. You know, we re-signed Marquise Bell to a 3-year, $12 million deal. We re-signed Brian Anger to a deal. You know, we bring back Kevontae Turpin for another 3 years at $18 million. You know, some good guys that the Dallas Cowboys re-signed. Then we also today signed Dante Fowler Jr., who's coming back from Washington for 1 year, $8 million. So really good move for the Cowboys to bring back a guy who had 10 sacks last year for the Commanders. Obviously, they went to the AFC Championship game and played the Eagles. We obviously know what happened there, of course, right? So Cowboys also brought in some free agents, like guys like Solomon Thomas and Jack Sanborn. You also got a guy like Kenneth Murray from Tennessee. You also traded for a guy in Kyer Elam from the Bills, couple for a first-round picks these guys used to be. So Cowboys have been a little bit active, of course. Now, they obviously lost some guys. You know, we lost Chauncey Goldson. We lost Rico Dowdle to the Panthers. Goldson went to the Giants. You know, we also lost guys like Jordan Lewis, who went to the Jaguars. And we also lost Mr. DeMarcus Lawrence, of course, the 11-year Dallas Cowboy who signed with the Seattle Seahawks for a 3-year, $42 million deal. And we all saw what happened with DLaw and Micah Parsons last night on Twitter, of course, /X, if you guys want to call it. So I'll get into that a little bit soon. But like I said, guys, I like the re-signings, of course. You know, those guys there, Marquise Bell, Brian Anger, Turpin, those are good re-signings, guys. Those guys are good players for the Cowboys. I felt like they helped the Cowboys. Of course, Bell got hurt at the end of the year. Turpin had some big runs. You know, Brian Anger's a great punter, so Cowboys did some good things there. You know, obviously, you bringing in a guy like Kenneth Murray, former captain of Tennessee. Like I said, former first-round pick. So he'll be good for the Cowboys. Kyer Elam's a little bit different, you know. Obviously, he came out of the draft being really highly touted. He hasn't really worked out too well, being a first-round pick, like I said. So hopefully, maybe the Cowboys can develop him and maybe turning into a decent cornerback. So it's obviously a little bit of a test project there with the Cowboys regarding Elam. But let's see what happens, guys, honestly. So, and then obviously bringing Dante Fowler back. I really like that move by the Cowboys. You know, like I said, you also bring in guys like Payne Turner from the Saints, Sanborn. You know, these guys here will bring in depth on defense for the Cowboys. So, good moves by the Cowboys. Now, obviously, let's be honest, guys. We all know the Cowboys are not very active in free agency. We also heard Jerry Jones saying, well, I don't think I'm going to be looking for solving our problems in free agency. It's like, then where are you going to solve your problems, Jerry? In the draft, for God's sake? It's like, you can't always look at the draft to solve the Cowboys' problems. You got to look at free agency at times and trades, of course. Now, hopefully the Cowboys aren't done yet, of course, because we obviously lost some key pieces, like I mentioned, especially guys like Jordan Lewis and DeMarcus Lawrence was a key piece for the Cowboys at times in his career. Now, will I say he was a key piece last year? No. And obviously, was he a key piece a few years prior? Obviously, of course, but we all know what DeMarcus Lawrence, right, what happened with him and everything else regarding the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we all saw yesterday that he went to Seattle. You know, he's doing an interview, of course, and he's got to throw a little thing saying, you know, Dallas is my home and all this other BS, but he says he's not going to win a Super Bowl there. Now, guys, I'll be honest. DeMarcus Lawrence is probably right that he ain't going to win a Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowboys. He is right. You know, he's been there for 11 years. He knows what Jerry Jones is all about. He sees what goes on behind closed doors. He sees how they operate. He sees how they are as a team right now. It's pretty evident the Cowboys aren't going to be winning in the next 2 to 3 years. It's pretty evident. So that's why he said what he said. Now, obviously, he could have kept his comments to himself, but he chose not to. And then Micah Parsons, obviously, who's looking for a new deal and who I think loves the Dallas Cowboys and being a Dallas Cowboys, decides to clap back at Mr. Lawrence there and says, you know, this is some clown shit. You know, he sounding like he's envious and all this stuff, what Parsons was saying, just elaborating there. And then, obviously, Tank Lawrence chimes back in and says, oh, you know what, maybe if you weren't tweeting so much and worrying about playing more, I wouldn't have left. Now, look, guys, I do agree with Lawrence there about saying Micah Parsons should maybe tone it down with speaking his mind and with the podcast and everything else. But another thing is, does DeMarcus Lawrence really think he's going to win a damn Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks? Really? Let's be honest. We know DeMarcus went there because of the money. You ain't winning no damn Super Bowl with the Seahawks, brother. So don't throw a jab at the Cowboys saying you left because they ain't going to win the Super Bowl and the team you signed for, you think they have a better chance? Come on. Like, let's be honest here. DeMarcus Lawrence went there for the money, and he wanted to throw a jab at the Cowboys because they didn't pay him to keep him because he was there for over a decade, and he was a little bit sour. It's very evident why he said what he said. And then Micah Parsons obviously is going to come to the defense of the team that he plays for and say what he said back. Now, clearly, what DeMarcus Lawrence said, there's obviously something to it. Now we know that there was some clearly behind the door issues there with the Cowboys, with certain players feeling a certain way about Micah with this podcast and maybe other things, maybe with the tours and all. Who knows? Even Jordan Lewis said it. He left. He needed a change. This is what happens with the Dallas Cowboys, if you're there for a long time. It's the same old nonsense every year with the Cowboys. So, is DeMarcus Lawrence right for saying what he said? Yeah, he's right. He's being honest. The Cowboys aren't going to win. Now, is Micah also right for defending the team? Sure. But let's also remember, too, with DeMarcus Lawrence. He went on ESPN a couple years ago after the Cowboys won 12 games and got their asses handed to them by the Green Bay Packers. Oh, I think we were just burned out and tired. Really? Really? And this guy thinks he can win a Super Bowl. You got to play 20 games in a season, buddy. That's a lot of work. After the Cowboys had won 12 games that year, he sat out the fourth quarter at least 6 times. So technically, he only played 3 quarters for half a season for half the games. And he's talking about being tired. And he thinks he can go win a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. Real funny, DLaw. You're probably too tired to even talk about this bullshit with the Cowboys. You know what I mean? And then you go and say you're going to win a Super Bowl. Like, the guy makes me laugh, honestly. He's talking out of his ass, just like he did when he went on First Take. And Stephen A., his eyes bulged out of his head when he saw that, obviously, and went right at him. So, right then and there, guys, DeMarcus Lawrence is one of those guys who I'm kind of glad, out with the old, bring in the new, bring in some younger guys, more hungrier players. You know what I mean, guys? So, honestly, DeMarcus Lawrence leaving was probably for the best. Clearly, you could see there was some axes to grind there with the Cowboys and certain players. Clearly, Micah was one of them. So, guys, honestly, I'm glad he's gone. He's obviously, he was a leader. He did help with the Cowboys, but then he says shit like that he's tired. So, to me, guys, he was a fake leader, if you ask me. He could have said he was a leader. He had a C and everything, but he wasn't the best of leaders, if you ask me, because he didn't do it on the field, guys. But listen, guys, the Cowboys haven't done enough in free agency. They've signed depth guys mainly. Then we've lost some key pieces that the Cowboys need to get back, of course, obviously. But listen, it's the start of free agency. We know how the Cowboys operate. They're not going to do much. Probably going to have to wait till the draft for them to do anything, guys. So, honestly, we can be patient all we want. We know how Jerry Jones is. We know how the Jones family run the team. It's going to be a frustrating free agency, guys. We obviously saw today what happened. Cooper Kupp, who the Cowboys were possibly interested in, just signed with the Seattle Seahawks for 3 years, $45 million. So that's another guy out the window. So Cowboys have to look at other options, guys. But I would like the Cowboys to go get another wide receiver. They're thin at the defensive tackle position, nose tackle as well, guys. So let's hope the Cowboys do some more work. But we all know how Jerry Jones and these guys operate. They're probably not going to do very much. Jerry Jones said himself they're not going to look at free agency, guys, to make their moves. So let's just wait and see what this team does, guys. Obviously, not much to be optimistic for, but seeing some guys leaving obviously is like, okay, now how do you replace them? That will be the big question, guys. Let's see what happens after the draft. Let's see what happens with the Cowboys and the rest of free agency, guys. But I like the re-signs the Cowboys made. I like some of the signings, some of the trades they also made, guys. So some decent moves by the Cowboys. Nothing to be upset about, but you would prefer the Cowboys to obviously be more aggressive, be more active, and go after the bigger names that will improve the team more quicker than obviously more of a reclamation project, of course. Right, guys? But guys, that's it for this video today. Thank you very much for watching. As always, guys, like this video. Subscribe if you guys want to see more content. Go Cowboys, go, guys. And remember, if you do not watch sports, you're more. Ciao, guys.